Hey guys, how's it going? So recently I've had a lot going on and I haven't been able to sort of share the things I've been working on or talk about ideas that I've had. So this is the first chance I've got and I just wanted to sort of share this idea that's recently come to mind about maybe an area of sort of existentialism that we've been blindsided on. So at the moment, the things that most people worry about are climate change, the rise of artificial intelligence, and amongst a number of other maybe lesser social issues. Um, However, it feels like we've kind of forgotten about the demographic collapse that's currently happening at the moment. So if you look around the world, generally what you need is about average families to have more than 2.1 babies to sustain a growing or at least a maintained population. But right now we've got countries like South Korea who are only having 0.9 babies per couple, Ukraine 1.2, Spain 1.2, and so countries like Japan, China are really down there as well, and the numbers vary. America, UK, France aren't doing that much better. In fact, the whole northern hemisphere seems to be undergoing sort of negative population growth in real time. So or at least the rate of growth is decreasing, and there doesn't seem to be anything that can change that. So governments across the world, both authoritarian and liberal, have tried all sorts of incentivized programs that seem to just be failing to get people to have kids. And one of the reasons might be, the change in lifestyle, the increased pressure people having kids later on in life. And so, why do I think this is possibly the biggest issue? Even ahead of sort of AI, nuclear weapons, sort of issue. I guess the proliferation of nuclear weapons that's been going on for 50 years, climate change and things like that, because all those other problems are generally fixable. However, if you don't have the people, your country runs into stagnation. So, just it doesn't take much projection to see that, at the current rate, even if we start having lots of babies now, we've already missed the boat because the pyramid inversion, what this means is very soon there will be much more elderly than young people. And that means that those young people in all of the countries have to work harder to obviously support the support the nation, keep things running. So the elderly require more maintenance. Their health is in lower, in decline, and they contribute less to the nation than the youth. And so this is something that I think ultimately could be the death knell for major economies, including the USA, China, UK, Europe, Japan, Korea. And this is because if you fast forward 30, 40 years, when you've got an upside down pyramid where most of the old people are at the top and only a small amount of young people are at the bottom, they can't maintain. Things are going to shut down, and regardless of how much, like, I don't think automation is going to cut it in that time. We've been able to do automate intellectual jobs, but the physical factory work seems to be still eluding us. And robotics and things like that. And this is happening really, really fast. So there's only a window of about 20, 30 years to fix this, possibly less. So when you've got a small number of young people that are trying to hold it up for everyone else, it kind of signifies a potential industrial collapse, right? Because production of resources, materials, sourcing, maintenance, urban work, civil engineering, all of that, talent will become a scarce commodity. And the only countries that seem to be doing well are countries like in Africa. So for example, right now Niger have 6.8 children, Somalia 6 children, but those numbers are actually going down in Africa as well. So bigger countries will compete for that talent in the future, but it's only a stopgap because after the second generation they also match the numbers of the current country that's hosting them. So that's not really going to fix the issue. So what you might find on a positive side is the end of wars, right? Because wars are fought by young people, and if there's hardly any young people, you can't really afford to send them out into to other nations to fight. So, definitely there's going to be a drastic decline in military action. Growth as a whole is going to decline, and this is why some nations will see this as like a threat to national security. If you can no longer maintain and sustain even even zero growth, then this is a big issue. This is what worries me the most, because as we sort of dwindle and cities become barren and things start to fail over, you could get to a situation where nations could take extreme measures. For example, they could begin forced pregnancies or harvesting of eggs and sperm to create basically mass government baby labs. You can imagine these people would be sort of brought up with maybe just one or two parents who represent the government. So you could have like 200 kids with, maybe just two parents, two people that are the parents of these 200 kids, but they're just government representatives. And these kids effectively don't have, a next of kin. And if the people whose eggs and sperm's been harvested, they might get some money for it, but then they waive their rights to the children, and effectively the government will then have obedient drones. I could only imagine the emotional trauma that this could result. So I can see all of these extreme measures happening, maybe not now because we don't feel it, but as things start to slow down and paranoia increases, and the elderly are still around, right? So they're the ones that send us to war. So the youth will have less and less power. There may be uprisings, who knows? But ultimately, we talk about trying to get in legislation early for climate change to prevent, temperature rises, or AI to prevent, abuse of power. But I feel like this is the one that we actually need to put in legislation now to stop future governments from taking drastic measures that would drastically infringe on the rights of people. Now, I'm not saying, we just let it happen and we let our population run to zero, but at the same point, the idea of sort of dystopian baby factories or forced pregnancies, or even Western approaches might be more subtle, right? There may be more better marketing around it to make it sound nice, but ultimately the results will still be horrific. When you're in that desperate moment, the people in power will do anything to stay in power, and I feel that we need to put in these legislations now to stop future governments all around the world from taking measures that are in violation of the values that we all hold today. So that's just the ideas and thoughts that I've been thinking about recently. Yeah, so I'd love to hear your comments and maybe criticisms, and maybe point to some data that I've missed. But yeah, it doesn't look great. Thanks anyone for watching.